There is an old Japanese proverb that says, "The nail that sticks out gets hammered down." And despite their obvious differences, it is hammer time for both John and Jesus. Because the one thing that they do have in common is that they stick out like sore thumbs. John, who Lance Pape describes as the bug-eating wilderness prophet, and Jesus, who is known to love a good meal with all kinds of company. John, who wears scratchy shirts on purpose. And Jesus, who can occasionally be persuaded to invoke the power of Yahweh to keep the wine flowing at a wedding. John, who addresses his hearers as "you brood of vipers." And Jesus, who in Matthew opens his signature Sermon on the Mount with "congratulations." But the differences don't seem to matter much to the children of Israel, who seem to be suffering from Goldilocks syndrome. John and the God that John represents is just too severe, while Jesus and the God that Jesus represents is just too accepting. We'd like our religious leader, they say, to be just right, which pretty much means just like us. So they serve up a lukewarm God made from a made-in-our-image recipe that leaves the hungry soul wanting. Now, in 2016, just last year, Microsoft released a made-in-our-own-image, artificially intelligent chat box on Twitter. Tay, as it was called, was supposed to learn from and mimic human conversations on Twitter. Well, she did. It took less than 24 hours for Tay to become a racist, misogynist bigot. And Microsoft pulled Tay offline that same day. Now this year, a new AI has come on the scene called Inspirobot. And Inspirobot has been designed to create motivational posters with pretty quotes that are inspiring on the backdrops of beautiful lakesides to make humans feel good about themselves. And millions of people, including me, flocked to the site to give it a try. And it didn't take long to realize that something has gone very, very wrong with Inspirobot. Now, occasionally, Inspirobot comes up with an odd quote that comes close to being inspiring, like the one that was generated for me yesterday. Simply being on speed doesn't mean you're a tragedy. But more often than not, Inspirobot takes on a creepy, even downright sinister turn. Before inspiration comes the slaughter. And often Inspirobot produces posters that do the exact opposite of what Inspirobot was created to do. Just keep panicking. Which only goes to prove that our made-in-our-own human image has been a recipe for disaster for as long as people have been whipping up batches and trying to serve them to the public. And the consequences of the recipe are particularly tragic when we use the formula to recreate God. For our homemade God simply reinforces our prejudice, hates the same people we hate, reinforces our phobias, and enables our complacency. And Jesus notes that the smarter a person is, the more likely they are to waste time on a build-it-yourself deity. And while deep down we know that God can't be reproduced through hard work, it seems that we're not ready to give up trying. Because surrendering to the mystery would be scary. So we walk through life with souls pinched into a God that doesn't fit, instead of trying on the God that does. Wretched humans that we are, says Paul, who will save us? To which Jesus' response might well be Eugene Peterson's paraphrase of Matthew 11. Are you tired? Are you worn out? Are you burned out on the do-it-yourself religion? Come to me. Get away from it all with me, and you'll recover your life. I'll show you how to take a real rest. Walk with me and work with me and watch how I do it. Learn the unforced rhythms of grace. The unforced rhythms of grace. I won't lay anything ill-fitting or too heavy on you. Keep company with me, and you'll learn to live freely and lightly. Last week, as I was making my way up to Bloor Street, I ran into an old friend of mine from my acting days. And back then, neither one of us was particularly religious, and now I'm a United Church minister, and he's a practicing Unitarian and an energy healer. And he looks good. Like there's this air of ease about him that I suspect has a lot less to do with the comfortable linen wardrobe and loafers, and more to do with like what his soul is wearing these days. And while I kind of wanted to be bold enough to sort of say, tell me, what's your soul wearing? I kind of chickened out and said, so, how's life going with you? To which he answered, it is so good to walk hand in hand with God, isn't it? And when I asked him what he meant by that, he said that it wasn't that life for him was free from challenges, but it seemed to him that when he took the time to check in and follow God, there was this rightness, this right fit to it all that seemed to make the challenges lighter and easier to bear. And it made me think of the oxen and the yoke. The young ox, the first time out, has no idea how to plow through the hard ground, but slipped into the right-fitting yoke alongside the elder ox. The way forward becomes clear and lighter. And it made me decide to take a look at my soul in the mirror and ask, hey, what are you wearing? And it turns out that over the years, I'd been filling my spiritual closet with all kinds of ill-fitting things that were either too snug or too loose or too god-awful to mention. And I was thinking that perhaps it's time to have a church rummage sale. An invitation for each one of us to purge what isn't of God and allow for the unforced rhythms of grace to take up residence once again.